Now we're going to continue the session about the scourging. In this session, we're going to talk about our feelings and how to get through the scourgings, how to get through the false accusations, how to get through the condemnations of others, and how to get through it with joy. Because that's the first resurrection that we need to experience and we will experience in taking this journey with Jesus. The joy of knowing that I am following Jesus. The joy you can know that you are following Jesus. Even while we are being scourged for what we believe and what we're doing in following Jesus, we can have a certain kind of inner joy that comes from knowing, really knowing, that Jesus is approving of us, that Jesus is appreciating what we're doing, that Jesus is saying, yes, you're on the right track, keep going. You're partnering with me in this. I'm glad you're with me in the scourging. We are easing the pain that Christ feels because he is scourged every day far more than we are. His scourging didn't end on Good Friday over 2,000 years ago. Think of everybody out there in the world today who is, in one way or another, beating the Christian faith down or trying to. Every way that someone is trying to beat you up and other Christians up for believing what we believe and doing what we are called to do, they are doing it to Jesus. And he's feeling it much more keenly than we feel it. Because he sees the ramifications much clearer than we do. He sees how it's not only hurting us, but he's seeing how it's hurting them. And how it's hurting other people that are witnessing this or in some way going to be affected by this. So when we say, Lord, I accept the scourgings as union with you, we relieve his suffering. We give him joy. And when we realize that what we are doing is redemptive because we are doing it with Jesus, and every pain that Jesus went through is redemptive. Every bit of his passion was for the sake of our redemption and the redemption of the world. So we can have the joy of knowing that somehow or other, God is going to make what we're going through redemptive. We'll become stronger for it. Others will benefit from it. Let me give you an example. I shared in an earlier session of this course that many years ago when Good News Ministries was very, very young, just getting started, the first few years of our existence, we had a chaplain who turned out to be alcoholic, and with that came other problems. As we tried to address those problems, we got scourged. Our priest friend scourged us for claiming that he needed to go to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. He scourged us for putting up boundary lines against his codependent smothering of us. The boundary lines that we put up against how he treated the people that we ministered to in Good News Ministries. Not only did he scourge us, but some of our core team scourged us as well. There were people who didn't understand why we could think such a thing about a priest, that a priest might actually have problems, that we might actually have to put our foot down and draw a line and say, no, you can't do this. This is inappropriate. This is not acceptable in Good News Ministries. We lost friends. We lost core team members over that. Our friend, the priest, converted some of these people to his side and convinced them, falsely accusing us, that we were the bad guys in this. How did we get through that? How did we get through that with joy? Yes, we had frustration, sorrow, tears, hurt, disappointment, great sorrow, in fact, over the loss of the friendship with this priest who had previous to that been a good friend for 20 years, and other sorrows. One of the ways that God helped me personally get through it was by showing me that within our friend, the priest, was a very different person, the one that God created. During prayer time one day, I had kind of like an imaginary image come to me, a vision of sorts. And what I saw was this giant gem. I mean, it was huge. It was in front of me, and it was many-faceted. And depending on which way the sunlight hit it, different colors sparkled off of it. And I felt the Lord saying to me that this represents who was created inside that priest friend of ours. And from his childhood, both of his parents were alcoholics. His parents were not there for him the way he needed them to be there for them. This was the beginning of his problems. And that was like them throwing mud onto his gem. And every sin that he committed is more mud being thrown onto the gem. If he repented from his sins, they were polished off. The mud was wiped away by the sacrament of confession, and the gem began to shine again. But he also needed to work on the psychological issues. He needed a lot of healing, inner healing, spiritually, emotionally. But he didn't go for that, and therefore his gem remained covered with muck. But the Lord showed me that underneath that muck was the real beauty of that person. And the Lord called me, challenged me to look past the muck and see the gem inside. That relieved a lot of my pain and suffering. Another thing that the Lord did that helped me through this was to show me that with the condemnation and the loss of reputation that occurred in Good News Ministries because of what happened, that there was a bigger plan. When we experience disappointments and crushing defeats, even when they go against God's plans, and usually that's exactly what's happening, it goes against God's plans. But God will make good come from it and will make something better come from it. Another imaginary vision that the Lord showed me in those days that helped me through this a lot was to look at Good News Ministries as a tree in an orchard. We had started out as a seed that grew into a sapling. It began to put out leaves and branches and began to put out fruit. And then the fruit began to rot. The Lord showed me that what happens is the rotten fruit falls to the ground and deteriorates, and what's left is a good seed. And that goes into the ground and becomes another plant. And it grows too. But not only that, there were good fruits that were falling to the ground. And so what was happening was we were beginning to get a new orchard, not just a tree, but an orchard. I couldn't see the orchard yet. It was just seeds in fruit falling to the ground at that point. But you're seeing the fruits that grew from it. Over 20 years later, we have many trees growing with branches that go around the world and many, many fruits, more fruits than we had envisioned when we first got started. So I'd like to encourage you. Hope, joy, peace, these positive feelings come from knowing that God is going to work a plan that makes good, not only that makes good come out of these things, but makes an even better good than what we can see or imagine right now. So that if we continued with an easy life, everything going the way we want it to, the problems getting solved when and how soon we want it to, what we would end up with is less than what we would end up with if we went all the way from the Garden of Decision, through the scourgings, and on all the way to our Good Fridays, our crucifixions, and the resurrection that comes.